do you believe we're going to see a different Jimmy Butler in the postseason? That because of their 12-3 start, they went through an extended period where they were terrible.
Were slightly below 500. They didn't suck. They still would have been a 10 seed.
If they're 25-25 and they started 12-3, what does that mean they were after 12-3?
That means they were 13-22.
Sucked.
Well, still, and I'm not angry about the Houston loss. I'm basking in 3-1, and I'm just curious about the Jimmy Butler that we're seeing, and like why Jimmy Butler has not yet shifted into playoff Jimmy.
Can I throw some numbers? Go
ahead.
You want me to do that? Since Jimmy Butler has joined the Warriors, how many times do you think he shot the ball more than 15 times in a game?
I would say probably once.
It's a good guess. I've got the answer as
I got it, Randy.
Twice.
Don't worry about it.
Twice. Do you know how many times he shot the ball less than 10 times?
Probably 5 or 6. I'd say 5.
8.
Yeah.
So what you saw Sunday was much closer to the norm than the opposite, I would argue. Like, that was not out of character. Again, 4 for 7, the exact same thing he did in L.A., and just me and Goo, I know you're probably listening. You know how much I love you. That's disingenuous to be like, yeah, but they won. Well, wait a minute. You didn't know that you were going to win until there was 20. Actually, that game was frightening until there was 10 seconds left to go. You're in it. During the game. They didn't know they were going to lose against Houston. He is continually just trying to make the best basketball play. I find him very good at it. I find him absolutely delightful with the Warriors. I've noticed this thing that keeps happening when he plays with Steph. They win almost every single time. So that's all. This is just me feeling surprised that I've heard so much angst about the way Jimmy Butler goes about his business after they went through the gauntlet and went 3-1 because people didn't like the second half on Sunday.
It's no angst.
It's just odd.
Something that I'm, raising an eyebrow toward, thinking about, what might potentially be coming when Steph Curry has a game like that. And you mentioned all the games where he shot fewer than 10 times, and I'm looking at it. He shot 9 times against Dallas. You won by 24. Mm-hmm. He shot 8 times against Charlotte. You won by 36, and he played 19 minutes. So there's context to all of this. He shot 7 times against Orlando, and he was patently not very good.
Yeah.
And you still won the game.
Yeah, Steph went for 56.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all of this has context, and, you could look at 2 of 5 against Sacramento. They won by 26, and a lot of these games where he went 4 of 5 against San Antonio. Okay, but they won by 42. Right, so what are we doing here with the numbers?
No, because you're saying that as if when they win by 25, that's why he didn't shoot. I'd argue they won by 25 because of his brilliance throughout. So many of those games you're talking about, his assist totals are 8 or above. That's why they're beating teams so
They're beating
handily.
These teams anyway, is the point.
They sucked before he got here.
They beat San Antonio by 42. Is that because Jimmy Butler was throwing dimes? Come on, Mark.
You're picking one game.
I picked 6 games.
No,
I just gave you 6 in a row.
I'll pick all the games. They sucked before he got here, and now they're awesome.
So they were 12-3 to start the year. Did that suck, Mark?
Dibs.
Mark, be fair.
That was 100 years ago, and you know it.
It was this season,
and that was lifetimes ago.
It was all because of DeAnthony Melton is what it was.
No, it wasn't. It was lifetimes ago in terms of their roster structure, their rotation, everything. You're not arguing with me on the larger point. They sucked before he got here, and now they're good. You're not arguing that.
I'm not arguing that they aren't better, but I am arguing that they sucked before that. They didn't suck. They were a 500 club.
Yeah, that because of their 12-3 start, they went through an extended period where they were terrible.
Were slightly below 500. They didn't suck. They still would have been a 10 seed.
If they're 25-25 and they started 12-3, what does that mean they were after 12-3?
That means they were 13-22.
Sucked.
Well, still good enough to be, and you have to take the whole thing in totality.
Seed. They were the 11.
Right. They were, probably on the cusp of being a 10 seed.
Oof.
So to say that they sucked I think it's a little bit harsh.
Dude, they sucked.
A little unfair.
For 2 months, they sucked.
Well, they sucked. They were subpar, for sure. And, you had stretches where you didn't have everybody in the lineup and all the rest of it. And whatever it was, it's what happened.
They're
So I'm not making excuses. They
so
are
much
better now.
They're so much better.
But they're extraordinarily a lot better when Jimmy Butler decides to not be Andrew Wiggins. That's all I'm saying.
I have not seen 1 second of Andrew Wiggins' demeanor from Jimmy Butler. And he would probably punch you if he heard you say that. Like, there's not one comp from Andrew Wiggins to Jimmy Butler in my mind. Do you believe we're going to see a different Jimmy Butler in the postseason? How would you answer that? I say no. I sure hope not.
Oh, we'd better.
Oh,
We'd absolutely better because you need a second score.
You don't like 21-3, huh?
I do like 21-3, and you're cherry picking on games where Steph and he both played because
that's their team.
Well,
they're not good enough without both of them out there.
Right.
That's not a cherry pick. That's their two best players. Everybody needs their best players.
But if you want to look at the games where he has been a negative in plus minus, they have a losing record. So I don't want the Jimmy Butler that we saw against Houston. He was a minus 19 against Miami. He was bad. They lost. No Steph. Minus 9 against Denver. He was pretty good. They lost.
Yeah.
Minus 7 against Orlando, they won. Minus 17 against Dallas, they lost. And I know Kyrie went crazy, and so we can chalk that up to Kyrie going bananas, but I want to see Jimmy Butler be their number 2 scorer, which is not what he was against Houston. He was their number 6 scorer, and if he's that player that he was against Houston, you're first round out.
Number 6 scorer?
In that game against Houston?
Number 4.
Okay. That's much better.
4 players in double digits. 4 players in double digits.
Then I take it back. Yeah.
I mean, he outscored Steph by 10 points. Interesting you'd come down Jimmy's road.
Well, I can come down Steph's road, but I would tip my cap to Houston. So Houston takes away Steph Curry, and now you look at what you have, and you're going to rely on pods and GP2 and Buddy Hield.
This feels so much more like strategic than I think it actually is. A team is not like, okay, Steph's struggling. Let's call timeout. All right, Jimmy, you're next. So you go be the dog. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to go. No, like they play basketball. And on every possession, the ball ends up where the ball ends up as you try to create a good shot. The ball starts in Jimmy's hands, and then it goes from there. And you're yes, you have an approach, but like what the defense is doing to you then calls for you to make a certain move. It's not like they know who's shooting the ball before they even like cross half court. So like, yeah, if it's the right play, shoot it. But if it's not, if it's the wrong play, then don't.
Right.
Find somebody else who's open. No?
Was it the right play? Like when you go,
that's
you're minus 18.
Yeah, that's cherry picking.
No, it's not cherry picking. We're talking about a game.
Right, but
we're talking about a game where Jimmy Butler did not do anything, in my opinion, impactful.
They got outplayed. Like you can't go.
He got outplayed, and he capitulated.
They all did. You're making it sound like the plus minus is what determines the outcome of the game, and I'd argue it's the other way around. The outcome of the game is what determines the plus minus. They got outplayed by the Houston Rockets for a bevy of reasons.
Right.
I'd argue that his reason is the best. They turned the ball over 20 times and played a sloppy basketball game. They didn't get a wonderful whistle, and their best player had the worst night of his entire year, I'd argue.
Right.
So, like, does that mean, okay, Jimmy, take over against one of the best defenses in the league? That's the easiest thing. That's what they're hoping for. Jimmy, just get tunnel vision and score? Like, no, dude.
No, what they're hoping for is
basketball players.
They're hoping for Steph to be taken out and for your number 2 scorer to decide that he's not going to be impactful. And so Houston's like, whatever he is, Houston's looking at it like, okay, Buddy and Pods and GP2, you go ahead and have career nights, all 3 of you, and maybe we'll be worried, but Jimmy Butler basically, in my opinion, made it easy on Houston by not being more impactful, attacking the basket, getting to the foul line. He was all too eager to just, get the ball out of his hands. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I did not see that at all, and I don't care who scores. The leading scorer in the game was Dillon Brooks. I'd come up with 9 people who, quote unquote, should score more than Dillon Brooks. But that's who scored for the Rockets that night.
Yeah.
So that's how the Warriors should play, and they do. If it's Pods one night, great. Pods was amazing in L.A. Score 30, bro. Do it. Win the game. I don't need Willie Adamas to get every hit for the Giants. I don't care. I don't care who scores.
Well, baseball and basketball are different.
And football, they're all different. But like the strategy of basketball is not here, dude. go score. That's not, my God, that's not what the Warriors are trying to do. Why would you even practice?
No.
If that's what you're doing. Here, dude, go score. You're awesome.
But when your best player has a down night, you're looking for somebody else to step up and fill the void. And yeah, they had 3 role players do pretty well, and it still wasn't enough. And so I look to the other scorer, a guy who's a Hall of Famer, a guy who has shot the ball a lot more when he was with Miami, when he was the one. And when your one is being taken away, that's when I look at a $51 million a year guy and say, all right, it's your time, dude. Go carry us. And he didn't.
When I asked you there in the crossover, what was the money thing? That's kind of what I was getting at.
Right.
He's paid that money to play great basketball.
Sure. Did he play great basketball against Houston?
I guess I'd argue no, but
Right.
he was absolutely nowhere near the first person I'd point to as to, wow, he played terrible, so they lost. I mean, not at all. Again, he turned it over one time.
Sure.
Pods 4, Curry 4, Draymond 4. Curry scored 3 points. Draymond had 2. Like, I'm going to get mad at Jimmy Butler. Like, he's
not mad at Jimmy Butler.
He's not paid that to go be a 30-point per night guy. He's paid that because he's a great basketball player who does wonderful things with the ball in his hands. And that means scoring, it means foul line, it means passing, it means decision-making throughout the process. And he's been incredible at doing it with the Warriors to the point where they've won just about most of the games that they've played since he arrived.
But not on Sunday.
Yeah.
And this is where,
not on Sunday.
We're talking about Sunday.
Well, no, we're not.
I'm talking about Sunday.
Well, we're talking about Jimmy Butler.
I'm talking about Jimmy Butler on Sunday.
But you've referenced at least 12 different games just in this conversation, so you can't suddenly make it only about that day.
And those other games, it didn't matter because you beat San Antonio by 45 and you won by 28, so that doesn't matter.
But you referenced games that they've lost. Like, I don't know why.
I'm not expecting him to be spectacular every game and for them to win every game. I'm just looking at Sunday when Steph Curry is clearly taken out of the game and the only shot he makes is a 37-foot prayer. That's a game where I would look to my number 2 scorer and say, all right, this is a game where you're going to be playoff Jimmy and you're going to shift into that mode, and I didn't see it.
Like your argument sounds like you want, and you did vote for, you said he better be different in the playoffs. That's not focusing on one game. That's focusing.
Well, if he's not better in the playoffs, they're out in the first round.
Yeah, no, I disagree. If they're exactly who he has been since his arrival, they're one of the favorites. If they are exactly what they've been since the trade deadline, then they are one of the best teams in the NBA, and they're one of the favorites. I am not going to pick on a night when one of the greatest players who has ever put on a pair of sneakers went 1 for 10 and scored 3 points, go find some other guy in the locker room and point to him and say, you better be better on a night when you lost to a 2 seed by 10 points in the middle of total exhaustion after going through a gauntlet. That just feels like we're pointing in the wrong place. That's how I feel.
Well, I'm not pointing it at him. I'm pointing it at all of them.
Of course we are. We're like our conversations about Jimmy Butler.
Exactly. And so to the extent of Jimmy Butler, when he plays like that, when Steph Curry is not having a good game, and in fact, he's having one of the worst games he's had in his past 10 years, and I can pull out the list again. There are 17 games he's had in the last 10 years where he hasn't reached double digits. In 5 of those, he's gotten hurt. So of the other 12 games where he didn't get 10 points, they are rare and alarming, and most of those are games where they lost by 50. And so Steph only played about 20 minutes because they were down big and they pulled the plug. So in a game like that, which Steph was not good, he was bad, and it was competitive, that's where you look to somebody else to step up, and he didn't.
Yeah, again, all of these phrases I wholeheartedly disagree with. He didn't, quote, step up. He wasn't, quote, aggressive.
No.
All of these words, in my opinion, are being misused here. Like, even when they asked him, should you be more aggressive out there? And his answer was maybe, maybe not.
Right.
I thought that's a great answer because, like, what do you even mean by aggressive? Why does aggressive have to equal scoring? Aggressive to me means playing ball, dude. Like, get the ball and try to make something happen. That can mean passing, leadership, free throws, scoring the basketball, I don't know, getting in the ears of the official, working with the coach. Like, lack of aggression to me means passivity. And that's why I hate when you're bringing up Wiggins' name next to Butler's. Dude, I see no similarities at all between Andrew Wiggins and Jimmy Butler when you're talking about that engagement in a basketball game. I have not seen Jimmy, maybe if you want to make the argument of the game in Miami, but I have not seen Jimmy just out on the court looking like, kind of here, kind of not. I just have not seen that at all, not in my eyes.